Welcome everyone. I'm going to talk about something that half of you probably has no idea who that person is, and half of you know very well. Netflix documentary called, I think this is called Robbie Williams, and it's just like, I am Robbie Williams. So I hope you've seen it. If not, you're in for a treat. If you've seen it, I'm gonna uncover some of the things that were not covered in the documentary, and maybe they were left out. So I'm gonna give you a little bit of context on that. Why me? Because I am not the biggest fan. I'm surely not the biggest fan. However, I have a couple of things. I mean, I have literally all the albums. This is signed, by the way. And I may give this away. This is also signed, like for real. I may give this away for a lucky person who comments. Okay, we'll see how that goes. I have been to so many concerts that I do not recall how many. Definitely 7, 8, maybe 10 plus, including like Take That and all that. I'm only 32, so I am definitely outside of the usual audience, but I have been a fan since probably I was like 12 or something like that, which is twisted when you think about it, because his songs were kind of sexual and all that, which I did not get at the time. This is not documentary I want to talk about. So by the way, for the US people, don't go away from this video. So you don't know who this person is. We understand that. Fine. But still, you can watch it, because basically it's just a story about some guy who got famous and could not handle it. And it's not like, it's very kind of like raw and authentic. So it's a good watch for anybody, to be honest, all including the US audience as well. So definitely, it's kind of like fame, mental health, incredible story of somebody who built a career based on one song, and then obviously whatever followed after. But the song that gave him the career, and I'm not saying that like he said this 100 times, was Angels, and without that song none of this would happen. So okay, let's start by saying that I have watched this. I am happy with it, but there's something about this which, it's also like I would do differently. Like somebody cares. But anyway, you know what I mean? So we're gonna go and have a look. I'm gonna start with like part 1. So basically I want to recall a couple of things. First of all, I do like the style of how this was actually recorded, like in his bedroom, in his bed, in his house, the camera. It's just like very kind of personal. So I like that. I wonder how much it cost, because this is not like I would say it did not cost a lot, and it's very obvious, and it's not a bad thing. I'm just like, I'm happy that this actually happened. So it's not a criticism. I'm just saying that this is not like a huge Hollywood production. It's very kind of like footage from the archives, which could be more of it. I will get there, okay? So I have been to some of the shows actually mentioned and showed in the documentary, and some of them I obviously remember, like in the cinema and so on. So basically, part 1 is all about Take That, pretty much. So it's like going back, watching the archives. I mean, I literally have been born in 1991, so I cannot say like, oh yeah, I remember that time. It's just interesting to go back before I was even born, or actually when I was born, and see all of that happening. So I also like the fact that he is actually watching this, right, on his laptop. And I like the lens. I wonder what kind of lens. It seems like 85 and 300 millimeter lens. Anyway, if you know the lens used, comment below in the comment section. Okay, so this is basically kind of like intro. We have Take That. And then obviously he left Take That. So I like how it progressed, very quickly. And okay, so I'm just gonna skip the Take That part. But for now, he made Sky Chambers, his producer. And I love that story of guy was, didn't have money. His roof was leaked. That was a story that I've heard many times, but it was kind of interesting. In general, two guys who have literally nothing left to lose, and everything to gain. They were both desperate. So it's interesting how this played out, how they met, And so basically they recorded the first album. And this is where it gets really, I love that part. Love that part so much. So, first of all, the footage that I've never seen, and I feel like I've seen everything. The footage I haven't seen in the studio recording the first album, and preparing this whole launch of the first single, was All Before I Die. Love that song, to be honest. Everything around that, and it's just they did not show how they wrote or recorded Angels. And I wonder if this was on purpose or they just don't have the footage, because the footage is very limited, I would assume, from what I can see here. Probably because they did not want to spend too much money on it from the record label, because they thought this is not going to be successful, but let's give it a try. So I feel like there could be more footage of that, but probably, I guess not. And the whole launch, and obviously Robbie getting sober, so going to rehab. The whole documentary seemed like he stopped the drinking at that moment forever. That he obviously was doing drugs and all that. But is this for real? He actually stopped drinking when he was what was he, 24, 25 or something? I don't know. It kind of seemed like that. So he went to rehab, he came back. And he seemed kind of fresh, he was happy that he was 2 months sober and everything. Album launch, and then couple of shows, everything good. He was touring, small shows, obviously. And then his album, he sold 33,000 copies or something like that. I remember in one time he mentioned it on the show as well. So he sold 32 or 33,000 copies on the launch. And obviously at that time, it was not good at all. So the record label, I think he released 3 or 4 singles. Angels was either 4th or 5th, I believe. Oh, God. Let me know in the comments, because I don't really remember. I have all the CDs, but not with me here in London. So it's kind of tricky for me. I wonder... Okay, anyway, it was All Before I Die. Lazy Days was another one, and something else, I think. And then we went for Angels. They went for Angels. So, yeah. So basically, record label was about to drop him because he didn't sell enough, and it was already singles released, and it didn't seem to, work. And then the last single that was released was pretty much Angels. And it just exploded. That song connected, that song, everybody was loving it. And if you think about it, because this is what I want to say here, that song is, I don't know if you've ever heard the album, because everybody knows Angels, Angels, but the whole album is so different than this one song. So I just wonder, what was the recording process? You have all these other songs that are basically incredibly different when it comes to sound and the feel as well. So it just seemed like all the other songs that he was drunk, he was basically high, or it was just he was kind of lazy rock star. And then Angels, it seemed so polished, so proper, so kind of out of this, so different. So I wonder why they put it on the album. And obviously because it's a good song, but what was, I don't know. It was so strange. And why they did not release it as like the first single, for example, or the single before the album launch. So I'm not sure they thought it's a good song, or maybe they thought it doesn't fit with his, kind of like personality. So they did not expect people to like take it like, oh yeah, we receive it, we acknowledge that. So obviously they released it, and the album that sold 32 or 33,000 copies in like after launch, now sold 900,000, and it actually continued to grow, not to mention like across Europe and all that. So that was basically like all of a sudden, spin, And what happened after? So I'm just gonna go, they were recording the second album. We're not in the, because US part is there. USA is present as well. So the second album, they were recording in, was it Jamaica? It was in Jamaica, and it just looked incredible. Like, as an artist, you go back to studio, but you need pretty much like quiet nature. And this is what like Queen did as well at the Night at the Opera, right? They went into like just fields, no distractions, just kind of like nature basically. And then all you do is just record. So this is what they've done. They went to Jamaica, and beautiful nature. And then pretty much, let me just go back in here. That was 1998, writing of the second album. I like how his oldest daughter interrupts him when he's filming like the documentary in his bed. She always like comes in and she's be like, "Can I watch a little bit?" And he's like, "Yeah," and then he sends her away because obviously there are certain parts that should not be seen by I don't know, how old is she? How old is she? Comment below. 8, something like that. I remember when she was born, and obviously throughout the whole documentary you can see the special connection which happens with your firstborn, and obviously with the love that you give to your kids. She was cute. She comes back one time with like sweets, and she's like, "Can I have this?" Blah blah blah. It was adorable. And obviously at the end when she cries, it's just like, it breaks my heart. Like she doesn't understand obviously how lucky she is that she can be with her dad like most of the time of the year, and he doesn't have to go to work every day, but sometimes he has to go away for 3 months and so on. It's just kind of like this innocence of the child in this like, everybody's human being, so including Robbie, that it gets really interesting after. So basically when he was dating Nicole Appleton, very nice name by the way, Nick. This was a nice love story, and also no mention of she got pregnant, and I think she had abortion. No mention of that. I wonder, so this was not mentioned, but also like his drugs and like womanizing was ignored a lot. And I'm not saying you have to put that like in, but it was a huge part of like his image to sleep with like 2,000 women or something like that, at least. And I think he decided to ignore that, or just say like, don't put that in the documentary, because obviously in the future my kids will see it. And he's got one girl, maybe 2, I don't know, I'm sorry, I don't know all the kids, but the firstborn is a girl, and maybe he did not want to show this side of him to her, which is understandable. I'm just saying, kind of like it was a huge part of the whole thing. After Angels and like the second album as well, after the recording, we can start seeing his kind of like anxiety when it comes to performing in front of a lot of people. And you would think, actually this surprised me, because obviously like I've been following him for a while, and I was just like, you know, like he's a born entertainer. He doesn't seem to have a problem to perform, to entertain. I cannot imagine him like having this anxiety, like I don't want to go on stage, I don't want to do this. And it starts happening with big crowds when you have big responsibility. And if you're in a band, like you can put that responsibility across other people, but now you can't because it's just you. So everything just is on you. So he kind of did not, he said like it was just sometime, well, at some point in the documentary, he says like, at some point it was like, it's just too big for me. Like some of the venues and like I could not, it's just too big. Just like the US fail, which I'm going to get to very soon. Here we're going to start seeing the pattern of the British press giving him a lot of bad press. And basically it's very, very pretty much similar or the same with Queen. Because Queen, when they started having success, commercial success, across the world, they were absolutely worshipped. And in the UK, they had the worst reviews, they had the worst press ever. And I don't know what this is about the British press, that they hate their own. Like, I don't understand how, like, why? Why would you do that? So I can see it here as well. So he travels everywhere, and then when he sees something from the British press, like it's just negative, right? And it has to be very difficult to kind of process that. So you go to do a show, and you have, let's say, like at this point, maybe he had like 7 or 10,000 people max, and for his show, and everybody's like enjoying themselves. And then he goes and like reads UK newspaper, and they say like, oh, his voice is nothing special, it sucks, we don't understand why people like it, his latest single is horrible. It's kind of weird. And this actually kind of graduates, okay, into a very bad place, pretty much. Okay, so what I want to talk about now is the progress of the album. And let me just... what happened was the record label... So, you know, you have success in the UK, you have success in Europe, and they send you to the US. It's a huge market, and I did actually not know that. I knew he did some American promotion in the US with the Escapology, I believe. But I didn't know they sent him to the North American tour after on the launch of the second album. I don't even know if he charted in the charts, to be honest. So they sent him to do like a press, they sent him to do shows, and I love that footage. I'm so happy that they have the footage. I mean, obviously, I would say, but like, it was so, like, nobody knew him. And everybody was just like, who's this guy? You know, like, is he a musician? Why you don't have a guitar? Like, that sort of thing. Like, and he goes and everybody, like, talks about, like, Take That. And he's like, yeah, I used to be there and I'm not anymore. Like, it's been a while. And they don't get it. Like, he jokes, but they don't get it. So they don't understand his humor. They don't understand what he's all about. And if you've ever done any kind of like presentation, whether this is at work or anywhere, you know that when you're trying to win the crowd over, so like you come on stage and people don't know you, right? And you try to like either do like the joke, icebreaker, you know, if nobody laughs, you don't feel good, okay? it's basically like, it's not a good feeling in general. So I would say it's really hard for someone to just be like okay with it on a obviously on a much bigger scale. So I would say it definitely a confidence killer in general. So this tour did not help at all. And basically it was like UK success, huge, Europe, you sell out shows and everything. And then like nobody gives a damn about you. So your confidence is shaken a lot because you feel like the king and then you feel like nobody. So I don't think it was a good move from the record label, but like you have to try. So it was good in a way because you're down to earth at some point, so it's good. But at the same time, you're away for a couple of months, you're doing this and it doesn't work. The shows are incredibly small. Nobody knows who you are. You have to kind of kiss their ass. Tell your friends and their friends to come on the show. And it's just like, it's not a good place. And it obviously doesn't work. So then you go back to UK or Europe and your confidence is gone, basically, because you feel like, okay, they don't get me, they get me, they don't, I don't know what to do. Am I really good or not? And then we had an episode episode in the episode with Jerry Halliwell from Spice Girls. And it was, I remember this, not when it was happening, but more or less reading it in the magazines and so on. And what happened was pretty much they were on vacation together and having a good time and everything. And when he was looking at the footage, they asked him, you seem really happy. Were you happy at that point? And he was like, oh yeah, 100%. But he's a spoiler here. He's a spoiler. They asked him, okay, so what happened? Why you didn't continue this relationship? And he said, well, everywhere we went, there were paparazzis. And I never understood how come they know where we're going. Because when we get there, they are already there. And he said one day, a paparazzi, I knew him, so I started talking to him. And I asked him, how come you're always there? You know where we're going. And he told him that it was Jerry doing that. And he said that at that point, he was being so paranoid and did not find any other explanation that he believed that. But as he was saying it, I don't believe this one bit right now, with the years after. But I believe that at that point in the past. So I think he broke it off, and not in a good way. And then we kind of moved on, and the UK press continues to excel at trashing him big time. And he's alone again. Okay, when it comes to part 3, that was this is something that I start to remember very well. That was okay, so first it was Nebworth, obviously I think in total it was 340,000 people each night or something like that. So I think it was was it million? Okay, let me know in the comments. So Nebworth, I remember I bought the CD with this. I was listening to it. I think that was my first CD from him. And all right, what happened then? He recorded Escapology, which was kind of fast forward. I actually wanted to see the recording of that album because it was my introduction album to him. I did not see that. They totally skipped that. Obviously, there was Feel as well. So I don't know why they did not show how this was done. I guess they were limited on the budget with 4 parts. I don't know, but it was fast forward. And basically they just showed he had some disagreements with Guy Chambers in the studio, and he fired him because obviously you cannot have that. I think they were both annoyed by each other, and pretty much it was like Guy Chambers' fault that, you know, he does all the work and Robbie gets all the fame and money. And obviously Guy Chambers got rich as well, but, you know. And Robbie had the view of, I do the writing as well, but nobody credits me for it. And everybody thinks you are doing everything. And from one clip, like from the studio, it just seemed like Guy Chambers, like he was basically like criticizing him a lot, and Robbie didn't like it, right? So he was like, yeah, can you sing it different way? I don't like it. They had a big argument about Come Undone. So Come Undone, Robbie came up with this song, presented it to Guy, and Robbie knew like this is a good song. Like he was like 100% sure like this is a great song, this is a hit. And Guy was like, I don't like it. And they had a big argument about this. And obviously, as we all know, Come Undone was a huge hit and a success. And Guy tried to kind of like change it a lot. And Robbie felt like he's trying to ruin it. So after his apology, Robbie decided to part ways. He fired him, in other words. And he wanted to prove to himself and everybody else that he can write on his own. Obviously, he hired Stephen Duffy to help him, but it was like, I can make hits also without Guy Chambers. That was kind of the idea of it. So he fired him and he planned this incredible tour, which was Close Encounters. I remember this actually very well because I went to the show, not this one, but I went to the show for Berlin, which was prior to this. This was when his new album with Stephen Duffy, Intensive Care, came out, and this show was very special. That was the Berlin one. That was the launch of the album. I won the competition to be there, so I remember this incredibly, and that was like a new hype, new Robbie, you know. So the album came out. I actually really liked it. I think it was great. It was very, very different. And he planned this huge tour, Close Encounters. And I'm talking like incredibly huge. And I think he sold like 1.5 million tickets in 2 hours worldwide. And it was happening on the biggest stadiums in the world, on like all the continents, probably except from US, Canada. I don't know what continent is that. America. No. But like these different kind of America had the tour. Anyway, and this is where it all went wrong on this tour because it was too much for him. So basically, he started like, they did not show much that he was doing like drugs and stuff like that, but he was like prescription drugs, which is basically like even worse probably. So they did this, it was a lot of pressure on him, and this is where it got really crazy when you see the footage of him being incredibly anxious to go on stage because it was just too big. And that tour was never ending. It actually didn't finish. Like, from my memory, comment below if I'm wrong, but from my memory, he canceled the last part of the tour. A couple of shows at the end, I think, and he went straight to rehab or something, or hospital, I don't know. He did a lot portion of that tour, but definitely he canceled some of the shows at the end, and for like health reasons and so on. And he broadcasted Leeds show, and I remember watching that. And he did not look well. Like, and obviously when we see behind the scenes right now with the documentary, it's very much obvious that he was not well. And it was basically like he was on steroids and other cocktail. But yeah, the Leeds concert just looks weird and sounds not his best either. So it was just basically like he was forced to do it. He didn't want to do it. He was terrified. It was streaming live. Millions of people would watch it. And he couldn't cancel. You cannot just go like, I'm not doing it. Like, you cannot just go and say that. If you feel sick and you say, oh, I don't go to work tomorrow, like, that's fine. But when you have this huge show, you cannot just be like, I'm not doing it. That's it. Like, that's not how it works. And I don't think we as normal people can imagine how it is to go through this, and just have a tour, to have a show like every day, every second day, every third day. And sometimes you don't want to do it. And maybe most of the time you don't want to do it because you have to. So, there is a difference between like you're enjoying it and then you're just doing it because you have to do it, because you want to have career. And he has no qualifications. Like, he didn't finish high school. He has 0 qualifications. So what else he's going to do? Like, nothing. So, and then the best part, I mean, probably not the best part. It's just like he, after intensive care, Root Box came out. The album, which was incredibly different than everything else. And he did it with like his friends from Stoke-on-Trent, like 2 guys. And obviously it was a big deal for them because like, oh my God, working with Robbie Williams. And I think it was just a yes man experience in the studio. So everything they came up with was just like, most probably like, oh yeah, we love it. Like, because they did. This is where the problem comes in. I know this is hard, but you need someone in the studio that says, this is rubbish. Okay. Just like Freddie Mercury did his solo album, it did not do well. And I'm not saying it's bad. It's just not great. Why? Because he didn't have Brian May to argue with him and say, this is rubbish. We need to change that. This is not good. So I think this is what happened. And it's one of those situations where you should not have yes men in the creative industry when you're trying to create something. So there has to be challenges, like people need to challenge you. Having said that, am I saying this album is bad? Well, I'm not going to say that because like it breaks my heart when there is a section of the documentary that is, Robbie is saying like, I actually love this album. This album is me. This song, Root Box, is me, and I stand by it, and I love it. And artist is there to create art on what the artist feels. So whatever you want to do, and obviously his whole career is just himself, his experiences, and so on. And he was always doing that. So why should he stop, I'm just saying that maybe if he had a person that challenges that choices of the songs or music in general on that album, it would turn out different. However, I listened to this album and I like the authenticity of it, and obviously it is very him. It is very him. So I think all the fans kind of liked it. And obviously press had the perfect opportunity to say, finally, this is horrible. And, I'm not saying it was, but it wasn't amazing, probably. It was different, let's say. So the press had incredible opportunities to put this down and influence the sales as well. So this album did not sell, I'm not even sure how many copies, but it was really bad. And it was so Robbie said that it shook his kind of like artistic process, because every time he was doing something, when it comes to recording, it was all about intuition. Like, I'm going there because I have this intuition, like I should write this song in this way. And he just continued doing that. And now it didn't work at all, right? And it was not accepted very much. Fans liked it, but I think they only liked it because he liked it. So, but it's okay. Like, you create something that is just, as long as you like it, that's the whole point of art. And yeah, you're just going to see whether it's accepted or not. So yeah, that was perfect opportunity for the press to say like, oh my God, this sucks. So he got into the worst place in his head, because this was happening as like at the same time as the tour. So he drops this Root Box song first during the tour, and seeing the press and reviews is just making it much worse. So it has to, again, shake your confidence and just be like, I created this album. I need to promote this album. I need to promote this song. So I need to play it on the show. But in your head, you just see those reviews like, this is horrible. This is blah, blah, blah. And like, this song is horrible. I did not do good job. I'm useless without Guy Chambers, and so on and so on. Which is none of it. It's true. It's just what you have in your thoughts. So he went into this like self-destructive mode, and he starts being very uncomfortable watching this back. And obviously like all the just things getting him through the shows, and what he has to do. And then how this actually ends, this is part 3, is the tour and like just the magnitude of it. And then we have the closing part, which I just kind of realized like how they can put all the things that happened in one episode, because this is the end. So again, I think there's a certain budget for episodes, like 4 episodes, which a lot of shows recently started doing. So anything about 4 obviously costs maybe considerably more. I don't know, maybe this format works. Usually uneven numbers work, but okay. So Cut the Circuit is the name of the last episode, and basically it talks about how he met his wife and what kind of place he was in when he met her, which was a complete, pretty much like addiction and self-destruction. So he actually had to break up with her to go to rehab at some point, and was just like, I need to sort myself out first. And then he stopped doing music, obviously, because he felt like, like a loser, or he felt very low self-esteem. And this is the thing, like, it's just so funny to think about that. You do incredibly huge tour where you sell tickets, which are very expensive, and you sell them like this. And people come and people enjoy themselves and people love it. But then you open the newspaper and all you see is how not talented you are, how horrible person you are, how were not nice to, like, I don't know, fans or staff or whatever, and how your music sucks, how your album sales just go to the bottom. And it has to be really crazy to think about, like, which side you're going to allow to get you. And usually it's the bad side that we let and allow to go through, right? So like if somebody says like, oh, you're an amazing person and blah, 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 you did a great job. And then 10 people say it. And then one person comes in and says, I don't think you're any good. Like, I didn't enjoy it. It was terrible. And you kind of feel that you gravitate more towards the other side, like the negative part. I don't know why we do that, but I can imagine that this, especially with Root Box album, just pretty much like shook everything he thought was defining him. because Guy Chambers was gone, and all of a sudden he couldn't have a hit, really. And can you imagine like questioning like, okay, so is my success just basically thanks to Guy Chambers, and without him I'm like totally useless? Which is not true. It's just looked like that, to him. So he just went into complete distraction, and then he met his wife, and he stopped making albums and music for like 3 years. And that panic attack he developed before this Leeds show that like was live streamed and everything, it did not stop for a very long time. So he refused to like perform, go on tour, release music, and so on. So she kind of helped him to get over that and just take it slow. And one of the steps to come back was he was recording a new album, and he did not do the tour for that, but he joined Take That. So number one, I think they should have invested a bit more time into this episode for the Take That reunion, because they put, it's not about Take That. It's not. It's just, when you leave, and throughout the documentary, he talks about them in a very bad way, and like he hates Gary Barlow. And in episode 4, it's like, oh yeah, I decided to join them again. And then it's like, he's with them and they talk, and it's just like I would expect at least a little bit of a footage of like when they met for the first time, or something that would clear out like the idea of like what happened. And I know they have a documentary on that, to be honest. I I think I watched it. How is it called? Like, Don't Look Back. Let me know in the comments. Look Back but Don't Stare. Oh, something like that. Yeah, so probably that's why they skipped it. But for the person who doesn't have the context, they don't know. And then he did the tour, the Progress tour. He was watching Circus tour of Take That. I was actually there. Then he joined them, did the Progress tour. I was there as well. That was a good one. And I could not understand why he's doing it at the time. So I was like, why the guy who can sell out 1.5 million tickets in 2 hours himself joins a band that they don't have such success, and he sings with them, and he's kind of like, on the side. He had like a 15-minute, maybe like 3-4 songs of the solo section, but everything was like together with them. And I did not understand this. Like, why is he doing it? Like, I want to go to his concert only, not Take That. Even though it was great. And yeah, the documentary explained it. And he said, I could not just go back on my own and just do the tour. He hasn't performed in 3 years. He lost the confidence on stage and so on. So Take That helped him to regain that and take it, small steps. So it makes perfect sense after I watched the documentary. And then I remember it was Bodies, the single, where we could see his girlfriend for the first time, I assume, in the music video. Yeah. And it was a very different song. I liked it. Very different. And yeah, everything was pretty much starting to look great. And after Take That concert, he decided to have another tour, right? Another album. And that was like, they did not talk about this. This is where it ended. It basically ended with like a couple of shots from his concerts after this point, and then his kids and like the family and all that. And that's it. So I feel, I'm not sure I understand why they skipped like 10 years. Right? Because the Progress tour, if I'm not mistaken, was like 2011. Then he had the tour, Take the Crown, was it? Take the Crown. Then he had the Swing Tour again when he rejoined together with Guy Chambers, which is not mentioned in this documentary at all, right? Which I found stunning. And then he had another tour, and then some of the shows here and there. So basically 10 years are skipped, and we just jump back to the present moment without mentioning he rejoined Guy Chambers. So it got me a little confused. I guess they just wanted to show drama, because basically after the point when he got married and like he was basically like happily ever after. So probably the most interesting parts of his life, which I agree, is where he was when he was struggling. So maybe this like happy end comeback, whatever, was not interesting for Netflix, or they didn't want to create part 5. So, you know, two things. And overall, very good watch. And I want to say that I'm slightly confused on whether this is a habit or something else is involved. But obviously he claims like he's drug free and alcohol free and everything, but I don't know how many times he did this. Like is this a you know, all the time. Maybe it's just a habit, I don't know. Yeah, let me know in the comments, what do you think? If I get a lot of comments, I don't know, let's say 50 or 100, comment below which one would you want. This, can I refocus here? Yep. Okay, this is original 100%. Or this is good for Christmas, actually. So comment below which one you want and how did you like the documentary. And I'm gonna choose one, but I need not 3 comments, like more, okay? So we're gonna see how we're gonna do this. And yeah, thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts. And I have to say, I'm very happy with this. Maybe not the ending, skipping 10 years, okay. But yeah, everything else, very, very interesting. Interesting watch.